Here we are in the Hadrian's Wall Gallery in front of a number of altars and other items associated with Roman worship along Hadrian's Wall. Quite a few of these items come from the vicinity of the Roman fort at Benwell, including some altars and part of a statue to the god Antenociticus. We only know of this god from Benwell, and it's very likely that he was a god associated with that particular place. And the Roman soldiers, when they arrived and built the fort at Benwell, thought it was proper to worship the native deity. So they built a temple, carved a statue, which is larger than life size, of Antenociticus, and then set up altars to the god, including one altar set up by a soldier called Tineus Longus, who thanks Antenociticus for gaining a promotion. The temple of Antenociticus is still visible today. It's in the middle of a 1930s housing estate, and the whole area was developed during the 1930s, and there were major excavations of the Roman fort and its surrounding area. There are little bits of Hadrian's Wall that you can still see in Benwell, in particular a crossing of the Vallum, which is the ditch that ran to the rear of the Roman wall. But unfortunately, the fort itself is now underneath a reservoir in Benwell, so we can't see that any longer. But an awful lot of the material from the fort is now in the Great North Museum. When the Romans worshipped the British gods, they Romanise it. Because they're used to having a temple as a focus for religious worship, they built temples. They're used to having statues of their gods. So they'd create a statue, again, as a focus for the cult of a particular god. The native Britons probably didn't worship their deities in the same way. So it might be at a spring, it might be a woodland grove or something. It could be some kind of nature deity, so there might be a feature in the landscape, a stream or something that he's the god of. But yeah, it's usually someone who's rooted in a particular area and is responsible for that area. So the local inhabitants would worship him. And that's very common in pagan belief systems, and quite often it's impossible to find out exactly what that god was about. And with Antenociticus, we only know his name because the Roman soldiers put altars up where they've written his name, and it's clearly Latinized. Yeah. So the local Britons would be calling him something different, which, you know, we no longer know what that is.